Three, two, one. Good evening. Tonight is gonna have a low-key kind of chat. All right. So lots of drama, lots of news in the bodybuilding realm, specifically in the online realm, and obviously I think everybody keeping up at this point has heard about Alex Eubank. I don't watch him. To be honest, I don't watch any sort of influencer that has that aesthetic. That's not really into bodybuilding, but more in just like personal image. Um, that's just me personally. So I've heard about him in and out of maybe Greg Doucette pop up video every once in a while. So he has a really good physique, right? And supposedly he's always been natural, and now he's going to be taking testosterone, which people like to kind of cloud TRT as not taking gear. It is gear. It's just approved, prescribed, and monitored by a doctor, right? So testosterone. And I just kind of want to give my thoughts on gear in general. A little bit of backstory on me. I kind of started lifting, I want to say, probably freshman year, first semester. Me and a couple buddies would go to a church, and this church had a gym. And I think the entrance fee was, I don't know. I think maybe it was free. I don't even remember. Maybe it was $5. And we'd work out there. Nothing super crazy, to be honest. I don't really recall working out, at a regular schedule. It's just me and my buddies. It's something we would do. We go to the gym, you know, especially that young age, right? Lifting weights is attractive. And all at the same time, I was in JROTC, which if you don't know what that is, it's Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, and it's pretty much just a military-sponsored program, depending on your school and whatever branch sponsors it. It could be Army, it could be Air Force, it could be Marines, it could be Navy. In my particular case, where I started out, it was in Panama City Beach, Florida. So it was next to the water, so assumably it was Navy. And you have to do your physical tests and everything like that. And that's kind of where my physical physical fitness kind of started from. So, long story short, I moved to Texas, and they also had a JRTC program, and it was Army this time. So going into the high school, I didn't really prescribe to any or take part in any sports. To me, it was pretty much just JROTC. So I was very physically gifted in that sense, because I could always, for the most part, I would always max out the PT test, which, it's nothing crazy. It's just push-ups, sit-ups in under a minute. How much you can do under a minute gives you a different score. And then I can't remember if it was a 2 mile or maybe it was a 1 mile run. I'm sure it was 1 mile in high school. Anyways, I did push-ups, sit-ups, and running, and pretty much that's all I did throughout high school. Until senior year, I started to actually go to the gym, and it was just a regular gym, and that's kind of where I started working out, I guess, and more intentionally with weights. That is, so that puts me around 17. I started lifting weights, and I stuck with it throughout college, and I stuck with it throughout my time in the military. But at the same time, I was never taking it super seriously. I was taking going to the gym seriously. Was definitely something I always did regularly. I probably go to the gym at least 4 to 5 times a week. It was definitely something I really enjoyed. but I never took any of the diet seriously. Never took any, like, in the army, you're not really getting crazy good sleep, right? So, never took that seriously. And at that time, I was definitely not looking up. I think, when I first started looking up videos, it was probably Athlean X. Athlean X. So, it was good videos, but it was, to me, I was never exposed to that sense of gear and steroids and all that stuff like that. I had no indication of it. Sorry for my cat. So he just sits down. I had no observance or anything. I didn't know anything about it. So fast forward, got out of the military, and I started to still continue to work out. At this time, I was still doing running heavily, and uh, make it even a longer story short, I injured myself, and I started taking bodybuilding more seriously. And this was about a year and a half ago. And I started to take, my protein intake and more into consideration. First time ever I was ever taking consistent supplements, and yeah, and then that's when I kind of got exposed to, when I'm delving into more of bodybuilding. Good Lord, Simon, come on. Started delving into more bodybuilding. That's when I, was exposed to steroids, and when you're really not exposed to any of that, you could assume, if you didn't know anything about bodybuilding, you would assume, maybe Ronnie Coleman or Jay Cutler, and I met people that, would, like, oh, they're on steroids. You wouldn't know, just because you just didn't do the research. And to me, that was me before I started taking bodybuilding more seriously. So, um, I am completely natural. I started taking it seriously a year and a half ago, and I'm still, man, I'm still not there, right? I'm still not there diet wise. I'm pretty consistent with my diet and hitting the numbers, but as far as the manipulation and all that stuff, I'm still working on it. But I've had tremendous growth, and while taking it seriously. So, and that's just eating more food in general. Um, Working out more consistently. I feel like I think it's more a part of my life now, right? So, yeah. Um, where was I? So, I guess going into steroids, right? So, Alex is taking steroids now. And, people are disappointed or whatever. Personally, we don't know, as a nobody on the internet, and a majority of us are, obviously. We don't know the struggles this kid is going through, as far as his body and his image online, and people talking. I mean, and he's been on it for, I guess, 7, 8 years, right? So maybe you think he would develop a little bit of a numbness to all the drama, but maybe he's just not mentally developed that far, or there's just a number of things. So really, we can't pass judgment on someone deciding to do that, even after preaching not wanting to do that. It's his life, and he's going to do with it as he sees fit. And you know what? It's, at the very least, it's a learning experience. Now, whether or not he should be doing it, I mean, I don't pass any judgment on anybody willing to take it to the next step, take it to the next level. Um, with steroids, everybody has a bad image. Um, and you do steroids, I mean, you're just completely fucking up your life, right? That's what everybody kind of thinks. And, to a certain extent, I mean, obviously it's not healthy by nature. Um, but I mean, there's plenty of people that we see taking gear responsibly, doing their blood work, which obviously is something that's more prevalent nowadays with the exposure to information everybody preaches. If you're going to do gear, do your blood work, talk with the doctor based on whatever your blood work shows. Will you stop, cat? Good Lord. And, there's plenty of people that live, long, healthy lives that are still on gear. Now, whether or not they're outliers, most people don't disclose that they're doing gear. And a majority of people that are doing gear probably aren't, it's now responsibly, um, probably aren't too old in general. But, okay, this cat. His name is Simon. He's a freaking maniac. Loves attention. So, who's to say, really? Inherently, obviously, it's not as healthy. But, given... Come on, cat. Go. Go. Get out of here. Mess up the camera. But, but typically, if he... I guess I'll cycle off with him because, like I said, we kind of already went over that. It's his own life. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Whether he regrets it later on in life, we all have regrets. That's the end of the story, right? So you can't live your life without any regrets. And when I was younger, I said I was not going to live my life with any regrets. That's just not how life works, right? So, but if you are thinking about taking steroids, with, TRT, anybody over 18 can get TRT, right? So, let's say you're not going to be taking gear with the prescription of a doctor. I would implore you, as I'm doing, in full disclosure, I am definitely thinking about it, but I haven't touched any of it. Only thing I've injected in myself is BPC 157, and that's just to heal a tendon injury that I experienced during my marathon prep. So, no gear, and yeah. So, if you're thinking about doing that, I would fully suggest investing in your time and maybe even money in literature, going over what the hell you're going to be taking, all the science and all the body or the blood work numbers and everything you got to go into. I'm not an expert, trust me. I'm just now looking into most of this stuff. So, but do your due diligence. Know what you're going to take. Know the amounts that are safe. Know what to look out for in your blood work. Know to take your blood work. Every, I mean, if you can, every month, right? And it's like anything in life. And obviously these steroids are, they're drugs. If you have an addictive personality, I would say don't do any drugs and don't do steroids. It's way too easy for somebody who has an addictive personality to just go off the rails and end up like a case of, let's say a bodybuilder passing away early in his age because he's just doing copious amounts of gear and, maybe even leans into recreational drugs. It's a recipe for disaster if you can't contain yourself. So know yourself before you even decide to take any of that stuff. Because if you have an addictive personality, it is 99% not going to end well. Unless you have specific barriers, specific things set in place that will restrict you from having those situations occur, right? So that out of the way, a normal person deciding to take gear, all the science, I guess, nowadays says, don't do it unless you're at least 25, right? Or 10 years of lifting natural. And, I I don't think there's a magic number for you to decide when you want to do gear or when you should do gear. Should you wait as long as possible? Why not? I mean, you should if you can, hack it out. Absolutely. But I think the most important thing is just indulging yourself in that literature and doing your due diligence and studying everything like it's a test for your life, because it is. And if you know what you're getting yourself into, more than likely those they're just the negative cases of people that you see on the internet passing away or having crazy amounts of acne, hair loss, any of that stuff, God forbid, heart problems and cardiovascular disease, it's definitely going to be um, drastically lower if you know what you're getting yourself into and you have the knowledge. So I think that's the most important thing is don't just don't just look up a cycle online, take that for granted, and then just go ahead and start doing it. For many things, doing is probably better than reading, but in this case, it's not. It's definitely not. Not when it comes to your body. There's a reason why medical doctors have to go on, you know, up to 10 plus years of medical training to do specific things in specialty fields, and they don't even know, a surgeon's not going to know what and um, yeah, I'm blanking. But specialty fields for certain doctors. I mean, there's a reason why there's a specialty doctor for this and a specialty doctor for that. They're not gonna know everything that this guy knows, and he's not gonna know everything this guy knows. And there's so much knowledge that you need to take in, and doing your due diligence is the best and most important way you can take gear responsibly. Barring everything else, honestly, I think that's the most important thing. Knowing the information outweighs being 25, outweighs lifting for 10 years natural, outweighs any of that stuff. Because if you're going to take it, you know, take it responsibly, or at least as responsibly as you can, and know what you're going to be doing. So, like I said, I'm not a subject matter expert in any of this, but you know, there's plenty of channels out there nowadays that go completely into it. Anabolic bodybuilding with Paul Barnett, fantastic resource. Vigorous Steve, if you can really understand what he's saying half the time, he's a great resource. Obviously, Derek More Plates More Dates, if you just want to dip your toes into some of that stuff, he's more digestible. But yeah, I mean, people are going to do what they want to do, and I don't understand this as unless majority of the people I'm seeing are just younger. But in my life experience, you cannot force somebody to not do something that they want to do. You can't, and it's really not your business to say that this person shouldn't be doing this because you think it is. They are entitled to live their life which way they want. That's just the end of the story. And you trying to push change onto them is only going to probably push them in the other direction further. When they decide to make a change, it's going to be based on their decision to, not based on, or hopefully, not based on any other decision, like some random people on the internet that clearly have no life experience. Because I think that's kind of one of the number one things. If you ever had to deal with somebody that's um, struggled in their way of life, and your understanding has you struggled in understanding their way of life. I've had to deal with it numerous people, including my father, and there's just if they're going to be happy doing what they want to do, who's to say that their way of life is not the correct way of life? It's not. So, anyways, long video, 20 minutes. Probably not going to cut this up because, I think it's mostly important. And, yeah, so Take gear responsibly if you're going to, and make sure you do all the possible literature and reading and cycle breakdowns that you can muster before even touching the stuff, so you know exactly what each thing does, what each thing means. I mean, very important, right? Very important. So, yeah, that's going to sum it up for tonight. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.